My name is Camila. I'm 34 years old, married to Eduardo for nearly 10 years, and we have a 7-year-old son named Lucas. Our life was never perfect. Whose is? But we made it work. With love, with respect, and most importantly, with balance. That balance shattered the day she moved in. Eduardo's mother, Lúcia, always had a difficult personality. One of those women who prides herself on saying things the way they are, as if that gives her the right to criticize, manipulate, and dominate everyone around her. But until recently, we kept our distance. She lived in another city, and her visits were brief, long enough to wear me out, short enough that I could survive them. Everything changed the day she showed up at our door with 4 suitcases, a dog, and an expression that said it all. She wasn't here to visit. She was here to stay. The reason? Her rent had gone up, and she didn't feel safe living alone anymore. Eduardo, of course, was sympathetic. "It's just for a little while," he said. "Just until she figures things out." I wanted to believe him. I really did. During the first few days, I tried to stay calm. I prepared the guest room with clean sheets and extra pillows. I even bought her favorite cookies. I gave up watching my shows at night so she could have the TV for her beloved soap operas. But with Lúcia, nothing is ever enough. By the 3rd day, she was already commenting on how I speak to Lucas. "You talk too softly. That boy needs firmness." By the 5th, she was criticizing the food. "This rice? Eduardo's not used to food with no seasoning." By the 7th, she barged into our bedroom with a laundry basket in her arms and said, "These clothes are a mess, Camila. You really don't iron anything?" I forced a smile, bit my tongue, nodded politely, but inside, something started to boil. She didn't offer to help. She took over. She reorganized the kitchen, claiming it was more practical this way. She hid my spices in cabinets I never use. She started cleaning the house on her terms, as if I wasn't capable of keeping it clean myself. And the worst part? She began giving Lucas orders. "Take your bath now. Grandma says so. No more cartoons today. You've watched enough. Don't talk to your mom like that. She won't do anything about it anyway." She spoke as if she owned the place, as if I were just temporary. Eduardo saw it all, but said little. "She means well. She's just adjusting. Don't start a fight." But I was already in a war, a silent one, made of looks, of innocent comments, of slow suffocation. And that's when I started writing everything down. Yes, writing. Every jab, every boundary crossed, every moment she made me feel like a stranger in my own home, because I knew the day would come when I'd finally have to stand up, not with shouting or tantrums, but with facts, with calm, with truth. Because this is my house. And if she thought she could take it from me, she had no idea who she was dealing with. It didn't take long for things to get worse, much worse. What started as small comments and passive jabs turned into a daily battle for control, not through shouting or confrontation, but through quiet domination. Room by room, habit by habit, she was taking over my home like it was hers, all along. One morning, I walked into the kitchen and found her rearranging the pantry, again. "Oh, I moved the snacks up high. Lucas has been getting too used to grabbing sweets whenever he wants. He needs discipline." She didn't ask. She didn't even look at me. Just kept moving jars around like she ran the place. Later that day, I found my planner on the dining table, open. She had written little notes on it. My planner. Things like dentist, next to Lucas's appointment. Too many activities here. Kids need rest. And next to my meeting with a client. Another one? Poor Lucas. I stared at those. Scribbles like they were knives. Every move I made, she judged. Every step I took as a mother, a professional, a woman, she questioned. She even started making side comments in front of Eduardo. Back in my day, a wife wouldn't need a planner. She just knew what her family needed. Camila's always on that laptop. No wonder the boy acts up sometimes. Eduardo would smile awkwardly, sometimes laugh a little. I'd shoot him a look, silently screaming, "Are you going to let her say that?" But he'd just shrug. "She means well." No, she didn't. Not anymore. If she ever did, and Lucas? Sweet Lucas. He started to change. He became quiet, confused. He'd look to me for permission, then to her, unsure who was really in charge. One day, he asked me, "Mom, do I have to listen to Grandma or you?" That question shattered something. In me, the line had been crossed, not blurred, obliterated. I started avoiding her, staying in my office longer, taking Lucas to the park just to be out of the house. And when I was home, I moved like a ghost, carefully, quietly, trying not to trigger another one of her helpful suggestions. But no matter what I did, she pushed further. She cleaned out our bedroom closet. Yes, our bedroom, claiming she was helping with laundry, but somehow managed to accidentally put away my lingerie next to Eduardo's socks. She threw out a bottle of wine I had been saving for our anniversary. "It was expired," she said. It wasn't. She even invited her church friend over without asking me, and they had tea in the living room like it was some social club. I walked in and heard her say, "It's hard watching your son's home fall apart like this, but I do what I can." That was it. I didn't confront her then. I didn't scream. But that night, I stayed up until 2 a.m. I went through everything. I had written down every comment, every invasion, every manipulation. I opened a blank document and started typing. Not for revenge, for clarity, for strength. Because I was done letting her narrative become the narrative. And the next morning, I stood in front of the mirror and practiced what I was going to say. Not with anger, with power, with ownership. This wasn't her house. This wasn't her marriage. This wasn't her son to protect, or her grandson to raise. And it sure as hell wasn't her life to control. She was about to learn something very important. You don't get to walk into someone else's home and act like you own it. Not here. Not with me. Because this time, I'm the one who says enough. The moment came on a Saturday morning. Lucas had woken up early and crawled into bed with me, cuddling like he used to before all the tension started taking up space between us. It was one of those quiet moments I hadn't felt in weeks. No pressure. No rules. Just me and my son, breathing the same soft rhythm again. Then I heard the knock. Sharp. 3 times. And then the door opened, without waiting. "Camila," she said, standing in the doorway with a laundry basket. "Lucas needs to get dressed. It's almost 9, and he's still in pajamas." I turned my head slowly. I didn't speak. I just looked at her. It was quiet, but something in that silence felt final. She stepped into the room. "And those sheets need to be changed. Honestly, I don't know how you keep a child in this mess. Maybe you should let me." That was it. I sat up. Lucas looked at me wide-eyed. "Lucas, sweetheart," I said gently. "Go brush your teeth and get dressed. Mommy will meet you in the kitchen, okay?" He nodded and ran off. I stood up, faced her, and shut the bedroom door behind him. And then, for the first time since she stepped foot into my house, I didn't hold back. "Enough," I said, my voice low but firm. "You've crossed every line there is," she blinked. "Excuse me?" "No, you don't get to come into my bedroom. You don't get to tell me how to mother my son. And you definitely don't get to treat this house like you own it," she scoffed. This is Eduardo's house too, you know? Yes, it is. And I am his wife. We built this home together. You are a guest, Lúcia. A guest who's worn out every ounce of goodwill I had left. She stepped back, clutching the basket like a shield. I've been helping. You're overwhelmed. I'm just doing what needs to be done. No, I said, sharper now. You've been undermining me. You've been disrespecting me. You've taken over my space, twisted my words, and turned my own child into a pawn in your power games. Her jaw tightened. I would never. You already did. Repeatedly. I opened my nightstand drawer and pulled out the envelope. The one I had filled with printouts of her texts, screenshots of comments she'd made in family group chats, and quotes from the voice messages people had sent me about things she'd said in public. I handed it to her. You think people don't notice? That I don't have eyes and ears of my own? I've been quiet for too long, trying to keep the peace. But this isn't peace. This is poison. She didn't even open it, just stared at me. I could see it now, the flicker of uncertainty, the cracks in her confidence. Because I wasn't the soft-spoken, passive daughter-in-law she thought she could steamroll anymore. I had changed. She tried to recover. Camila, if you really think I'm the problem, I don't think. I know. There was a knock at the bedroom door. It was Eduardo. I heard everything, he said quietly. For a second my heart sank. Was he about to take her side again? But he looked at me, then at her, and said the words I never thought I'd hear from him. Mom, you need to back off. This isn't your home. Lucia's face dropped. She looked genuinely stunned. He continued, his voice steady. You came here asking for help. We gave you that. But now you're trying to control everything, and it has to stop. If this is going to work at all, it has to be on Camila's terms. She's the one who holds this house together. I felt my throat tighten, not from anger but from relief. From finally being seen. She didn't argue. She didn't cry. She just walked out of the room, envelope still in hand. I exhaled slowly, turning to Eduardo. Thank you, I said. He nodded. I should have stood up sooner. Maybe. But in that moment, it didn't matter, because I had stood up for myself, and that changed everything. The house felt different the next day. Not quieter, just clearer. Like someone had finally opened the windows and let the air circulate again. Lúcia didn't speak much that morning. She made her tea in silence, sat at the table with her phone, and didn't try to rearrange anything, command anyone, or make a passive-aggressive comment. But I knew better than to believe it was over. That afternoon, as I was folding clothes in the laundry room, Eduardo walked in holding his phone. He handed it to me without saying anything. It was a screenshot, a Facebook post, vague but obvious. Some people forget who was there for them when things were hard. Some women mistake control for strength and call it love. But family isn't something you take, it's something you nurture. Sad world we live in. No names. But she didn't need to name anyone. The likes and comments made it clear who the post was about. Me. There were replies from church friends, relatives, even distant acquaintances. You've always been such a giving mother. Some people just don't appreciate real family values. These new wives think respect is optional. I stood there, frozen, the laundry slipping from my hands. I had drawn a boundary, and she was punishing me for it. Not with confrontation, but with whispers, with vague accusations, with public sympathy seeking that painted her the victim, and me the villain. Eduardo put a hand on my back. I'll talk to her, he said, but I shook my head. No, I will. That evening, I set the table for dinner. A full meal, just like she always expected. I lit a candle. Not for ambiance, for precision, for control. I was setting the tone now. Lúcia came down, a little stiff, a little suspicious. She sat across from me. Eduardo sat quietly between us, chewing slowly, like he was bracing for a storm. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't start with accusations. Started with truth. "I saw your post," I said, "and I know it was about me." She didn't deny it. "I get that you're hurt, that you feel pushed out, but you were never pushed out. You were asked to respect boundaries. You chose not to." She stirred her food but didn't eat. I continued. "You've crossed the line so many times I can't even count them anymore." And I kept swallowing it, trying to be the bigger person, trying to protect everyone's feelings. I looked her straight in the eyes. "But this is where it ends. From now on, if you want to stay here, you follow our rules. No backhanded comments, no social media shade, no more taking over parenting decisions, house decisions, or marriage dynamics that don't belong to you." She opened her mouth, maybe to protest, maybe to defend. But I raised a hand gently. Not everything needs a response. What it needs is a change. There was silence, a long one. She set down her fork. "I see," she said finally. Her voice was flat, cold. "So that's how it is now?" "Yes," I replied. "That's how it is now." She nodded slowly. "Then, maybe I should make other arrangements." "That's your decision," I said. "But if you stay, it's with mutual respect, nothing less." Dinner ended quietly. She didn't say another word. But that night, Eduardo and I sat on the couch, lights low, and for the first time in what felt like forever, we laughed. Not nervously, not awkwardly, freely. Lucas ran in and jumped on our laps like it was normal again, because finally, it was. We didn't know what Lúcia would do next. Move out, stay and simmer. Pretend it never happened. But it didn't matter, because I had drawn the line. And this time, no one was going to erase it. Lúcia moved out a week later. No announcement. No big scene. One morning, she packed her things while Lucas was at school and Eduardo was at work. I came downstairs and found her suitcase by the door, the keys to our house resting quietly on the entryway table. She didn't say goodbye. She didn't leave a note. Just silence. And for once, it was the kind of silence that brought peace. I stood there for a few minutes, not quite sure how to feel. There was no relief party, no dramatic release. Just stillness. But it was a stillness I hadn't felt in months, maybe years. That evening, I made dinner the way I used to, music on in the background. Lucas at the counter helping me stir the sauce. Eduardo wrapping his arms around me from behind while I chopped vegetables. It wasn't about perfection. It was about breathing again, existing in my home without feeling watched, judged, or second-guessed. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like the woman I used to be. But of course, Lúcia wasn't done. Few days after she left, my phone buzzed during a client meeting. A message from my cousin. "Hey, just a heads up. Your MIL is saying you kicked her out of the house after all she did for you. She told Aunt Rosa that you're unstable and probably not handling motherhood well." I stared at the screen, emotionless. I didn't respond. I didn't need to, because I finally understood something I wish I had known earlier. People will say what they want. They'll create their own version of the story. But that doesn't mean you have to live in it. I had spent months trying to keep the peace, trying to protect appearances, trying to avoid conflict. And in doing so, I had given away pieces of myself, quietly, bit by bit. Until one day I looked around and realized I didn't recognize my own life. Standing up to Lúcia wasn't about winning. It wasn't about making her feel small. It was about reclaiming something I had let go of the moment I chose silence over truth. My voice. I used to think strength was staying quiet, keeping it all together, never letting the cracks show. Now I know better. Strength is saying enough when someone keeps taking. It's choosing boundaries over approval. It's understanding that love and respect are not the same, and you can love someone without letting them walk all over you. Weeks passed, then months. We saw Lúcia at family events, distant but polite. No more jabs, no more gossip. Maybe she realized I wasn't the easy target she thought I was. Maybe she didn't. Maybe it didn't matter, because I was no longer seeking her validation. The people who mattered, the ones who really saw me, knew the truth. One afternoon, as I picked up Lucas from school, his teacher pulled me aside. "He talks about you all the time," she said with a smile. "Says you're his hero." I smiled back, heart swelling. Not because I had handled everything perfectly, but because I had handled it at all. And that, in the end, is what this story is about. Not a war between women, not a fight for control, but a moment in a woman's life when she realized, this is my house, my child, my marriage, and I don't owe anyone control over that, not even the woman who raised the man I love. So if you're out there, holding your tongue, swallowing your needs, shrinking to keep the peace, let me tell you something. You don't have to be loud, to be powerful. You just have to stop letting other people narrate your story. And when you finally look someone in the eye and say, you don't run this house, you don't run me, you won't just reclaim your home, you'll reclaim yourself.